Hi and welcome again to RevsIT. This is part 9 of the rebuild or restoration or whatever you want to call it, and this time we're going to be looking specifically at the forks and doing a bit of work on them, cleaning them up. There's a bit of sticky still left on there from the blasting of the bottom end. I'm very pleased with how that came out. I've got a bit of tape on there, that's just to show me where the brackets go, the centre bracket, so I don't get it in the wrong position basically, as I probably would. As you can see, there is quite a bit of pitting. A lot of it though is on the upper side of the forks, which don't move at all. Nearer the seals, it's quite good. There is a little bit of pitting, and there's a little bit of pitting there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this off as best we can. And to do that, we're going to be using this stuff, which is steel wool. But it's quadruple zero steel wool, so it's an extremely fine steel wool. If I pull it out, I know some people actually use this for cleaning glass as well. If you've got like a film on the glass, this can be used for that. I wouldn't recommend it. If you've got soft coatings on the glass that you're trying to clean, you'll probably end up destroying it and making it opaque. The other thing we're going to be using is the good old Autosol. This has been around forever, metal polish, and it's made for chrome especially. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a lot of elbow grease. I'm going to try and clean off a lot of this pitting. The other thing I do have is a old Stanley knife, which I'll use for taking off like the bits of tape that's still on there. If I can't get it off with this, I'll use this just to remove it. Okay, let's get on with that and see how well we can do. This is probably the worst of the two, so we'll do this one first. Check some Autosol on first, and then work with the elbow grease. Now there are other things you could do, other ways of doing this. You could have it re-chromed by a professional if you can afford it. I'm not on that kind of budget, I'm afraid. The other thing, some people use washing up liquid instead of, I'm using the Autosol. Other people use WD-40, and other people use various other things. There is specialist products and ways of doing this, but when it comes to cost-effective working, I think is probably the best. So I'm just taking off the main part of it really at the moment. I haven't got down to the difficult bits and pieces, but as you can see, it really is working really well. I remember working a long time ago on my brother's and my father's car, and they didn't want to do this job because it was labour intensive, so they'd give me a few quid, give me the polish, an old rag. I didn't even use the wire wool at that time, and away I'd go spend hours cleaning up the chromium on the car bumpers. That's to show you just how long ago it was. Now this has come off really well. There are a few deep pits, but at the bottom end, I'm just working on one here now. I can feel it. If you use your nail, if you're okay with that, you can actually feel the little pits and rises. And yeah, there's a little one there. Let's just give it a little try with a blade a moment, just to see if we can even that out a bit, take the excess off. Doing it this way as well, you can tell whether the actual mark is something that's on top or if it is a pit. And if I go like this, I can feel little ridges which I'm scraping over, like that one there. That's just appeared, and then you can see that one there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's a little black spot there which is actually a hole basically through the chrome. There's not a lot I can do about that apart from buying new, and I have sourced new, but again finance is not that good. To have them shipped over here, they come in from China, would cost somewhere in the region of £200. But there's another one you see that looked terrible, but having gone over it with the Autosol and the wire wool, it's almost completely disappeared. The compression part of it there is only one tiny little divot there, a little dip there, and I think that won't affect it at all. What I'm planning to do though is I've got some clear coat, and I'll just use a very fine tipped paintbrush, you know, like an artist paintbrush, and I'll put a little, I'll clean it off of course first, and degrease it with some alcohol, and then I'll use that to try and fill that hole in. You can, I've seen others also use nail varnish. Nail varnish would work, it would fill the hole in. Of course you'd have to level it off again at the end of it, but how long that would last for, I really don't know. Now I'm working on quite a band bit here, just here, but again this is so far out of the compression zone, it really doesn't matter. And what with that being beneath the actual centre stay, as it were, you wouldn't even see this, but I will try and get it cleaned off as best as I can, like that. I'm not scratching the chrome, by the way, when I'm doing this. Chromium is a far harder substance than steel, which is why they use it for this type of thing in work tools. Let's just put a little bit more on there, and then we'll wipe off, and we'll see how good a result we've got with this. And then we'll go on to the top part. I will clean this off because it looks a bit grotty, but that's just purely for visual. That's not so much for actual mechanical use then, because this again is not within that compression zone. But again, see, there's another one here which is almost disappearing as I work the wire wool over it. So that's a quick once over. Let's grab a cloth and give it a clean off. And let's see how that has come out. Wow. I'd forgotten how good Autosol was. I'm not sure where you can get it in your own country's Autosol, but if you can find it, there it is. It really is a really good, brilliant chromium and aluminium, which will be good for the other bits, metal polish. Yeah, there's quite a nasty little bit there, but again, that's outside the compression zone, so I'm not too worried. But again, I will clean that off, degrease it, and I will use a little bit of the clear coat on it. As you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm taking the pieces that are sticking up off, and it's exposing a bit more the actual metal underneath where the corrosion has got through. But I'm not too worried about that. But all in all, let's just run it over and see. For the first pass, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to do the same on the other one, both sides again, but that's just the first pass. I'll leave that rest a little bit now. I'll get on with this bit, and I'll do this bit and this bit, and we'll carry on from there. So let's see then, this bit is a bit more, well, a lot more pitted. What will the results be like with this part? Let's drop the lid to the Autosol. This stuff's not expensive either, which is good. It's reasonably priced. Some products these days, they promise the world, they don't give anything, and they empty your wallet. So let's have a look, see what this does to this top piece then. Look at that, this is really good. I mean, all these pits are virtually disappearing. They look really bad, they look huge, nasty little black spots, and you think, oh dear, the whole thing is ruined. But when you actually wipe them off with this wire wool and the Autosol, it really makes a big difference. And a bit more in there. Again, none of this area now I'm working on is mechanical, so well, it's just cosmetic, all this what I'm doing at the moment. But it's nice to have it looking, Well, again, you won't really see this part either. I'm doing this and you don't even see it because it'll be underneath the fairing. That is if I put the fairing back on, of course. I've had a couple of suggestions as to what I should do with the bike, as in make it into a scrambler or an off-road or possibly a street fighter type. I'm really not sure. I do like having the comfort of a fairing. I live in Wales, as you probably know, and it's not the driest of countries. And I happen to live in one of the wettest parts of the UK. So that's coming up okay. It's not as good as the bottom part, but then it was a lot more corroded than that bottom part. I'm just going to go over it again with the Stanley knife blade. Yeah, there's a lot more corrosion there around where the actual brackets were. And this will give it all that bit. And then we'll give this a wipe off as well. And what I will do with this part is, once it's cleaned, I will give it a coating, a proper coating of clear coat, and bake it in, because that will prevent further corrosion then, hopefully. But it doesn't need to be perfect or anything. So all it is there is a protective layer, and it's out of sight, so no need for that. Right. I should have worn gloves, shouldn't I? There we go. Old-fashioned mechanic. We didn't wear gloves in the past. All this modern PPE. I wish I'd have known it then, I tell you. Just as an aside, I am part of the reason you may see some spots and things on my hands is that I suffer from dermatitis, which is partly due to working in the motor industry for a while, and then as a hobbyist, and never wearing any form of PPE on my hands, apart from if it was absolutely necessary, like welding. So this is really good. I'm not going to take these pieces of tape off because they are there to actually show me where that bracket is. But if we can now compare the two, look at this, look at the difference. Let's find the worst part. This was the worst part. And if I tell you what, I'll zoom in a bit so you can see a bit better. Okay, I don't know if you can see much better, but this here is what this was just like, and there's a huge difference. All that pitting, all that nastiness has been cleared off, and if I give that, you can see how bad that is there, just to show you how good this Autosol stuff is, and the wire wool. If I just rub over that, it almost magically starts to disappear. By the way, I've got no connection to Autosol. This is not in any way monetized channel. If you want to help, you can do. There's a Patreon and a PayPal link down in the description there. But no, Autosol are not sponsoring this. I just happen to like the product, and if I like a product, I will mention it. So that's just a quick rub over. It's not as good as the other one because I haven't done a full job, but as you can see, again, it's taken off most of that. A bit more work with blade now and the Autosol, and that will come up as good as this. I'm going to give this a second coat as well, and a second going over with the wire wool and the Autosol to bring it up even better. Let's zoom back out then. Now you can do the same thing with the aluminium part of the actual front suspension as well. I'll do a little bit so you can see, but I'm going to do this with the buffer because it's much quicker, and I can then do the little bits that I need to do with this. But if I work with this, okay, That's just a quick little rub over, and then we polish off. You see the sheen starting to come back already, and the smoothness is there. Let's give it another quick once over. It's much quicker with the buffer wheel doing this. But then again, we haven't always had the buffer wheel to work with, and our predecessors in the early days of motorcycling would have polished up their bikes and their chrome like I'm doing now, all by hand. Okay, as you can see, the shine and the sheen is already coming back, and this will be almost the same as this by the time it's finished with the buffer wheel. I'm still considering though whether I should just leave it a little bit keyed and then paint it. I want to do the gold wheels and the gold suspension, and on the bike it'll be red and gold as well. That's what I'm hoping for. Whether I'll get it that far, I don't know, but so far so good. So that's how you polish up rotten old chrome and make it usable again. I'm looking at it now. I've got a little bit down here which is all tape marks and things, but the actual working area, let me move it up a bit, the working area, this part here of the forks are really good. There's a couple of tiny little bits, but nothing that's going to damage the seals. So I don't think I'll need to change them, but if anybody wants to sponsor me to get the new ones, again, Patreon, the PayPal links down below. This is a hobby for me, this is not a job. I just like sharing what I'm doing and possibly helping somebody else out who's doing the same thing or similar. Okay then, that's the beginning of the polishing. I'm not going to hang about now. I'll turn the camera off and get on with it, polishing the rest up, and I'll see you in the next video. But for now, thank you for watching. Ride on, ride safe.